Hello, my loves. Welcome to Be for Vibrant, or welcome back. My name is Kellyanne, and I am a compassion creatrix who cares a lot about relationships and our relationship to ourselves. That is, seen through the perspective of the witnessing of suffering, noticing and observing how you are doing, how other people are doing, and then the benevolent, kind, respectful desire to alleviate that suffering, which means that I am an activist, an advocate, as well as a psychic. I care a lot about alleviating the suffering in the world, and that's where I channel all of my energies. So, uh, for those of you who are recovering people pleasers, this reading is for you. I am going to be channeling for people who have lived childhood codependency out and are now seeing in maybe adulthood, or as you transition to adulthood, or as you transition into a long term partnership as an adult, and you're like, how do I how do I maintain myself? How do I keep boundaries for myself while also loving this other person and loving the other people around me? This is going to be a reading for you to help you understand the thoughts, actions, beliefs, behaviors, that habits that you need to start doing more of, stop doing because they are not helping you, continue doing because yay, you are getting some things right. And they are a great foundation for uh, continuing to recover from the people pleaser conditioning, as well as we're going to see some obstacles or some like blockages, which if you focus on those, then everything else is going to become so much easier. Everything else is starting to change in one way and beginning to release something else. All of that is going to be supported by acknowledging whatever obstacle comes up in our reading. So I am going to get started. I would love, while I'm tuning into the cards that I'm going to pick and the messages that are going to come up, I would love for you to just settle in, take some deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. You might want to try different kinds of breathing if you know them. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I am going to just suggest that there are a couple of different kinds of breathing. I'm thinking of, even because my nose is like a little bit stuffy, I'm thinking about one where you breathe in, eat in through one nostril and then out, and then in and out, and then in through one and out through the other, and vice versa. So if you want to play around with that, that's what I'm tuning into for you and for us today. So go ahead and begin just settling in, breathing, acknowledging that you don't have to be anywhere else or do anything else or think about anything or be solving any problems right now. All you got to do is be here right now, my fellow recovering people pleasers. Jumping out. All right, y'all. Welcome to come back. Uh, this reading, while it's for recovering people pleasers, is also for the month of January. I'm going to be trying to do some of these readings for those of us in people pleaser, as well as perfectionist, as well as highly sensitive person recovery. Not that you have to recover from being a highly sensitive person, but there is a sort of recovery that happens when you're a highly sensitive person out in the world and you don't realize how different you are from everybody else. And so you start to mask and you start to hide. Um, so, for those of you who are highly sensitive people who are coming out of hiding, perfectionists who are trying to disrupt the patterns of never making mistakes ever, and if you're recovering from people pleasing, those are the topics that I generally like to tune into. So, I'm going to be doing that every month, I think. That's what I would like to be doing, giving card readings on those things. So be on the lookout for those other readings. Right now, we are using the Caroline Meese archetype cards. They're based on Jungian archetypes, and they're just basically an expanded version. And then we also have Mood Tarot, which is dirty, which is terribly dirty. And it describes itself as a disgustingly relatable tarot deck. So we're going to get into some tarot cards that have like a really sharp sense of humor, and some archetype cards that are going to show us uh, roles and identities that we might have been carrying around with us, that are either like great foundations for us. These are our continue cards. These are the thoughts, actions, beliefs, and behaviors that we're going to continue doing because they're good for us. Um, the things that we have been embodying that we need to embody more of. So these are our start cards, things that we need to start doing or start doing more of. These are our stop cards. These are the things that we need to just let the fuck go of. And then in the center here is our obstacle slash blockage cards. So we are going to start off with our continue cards. That's our cheering section. So for all of my recovering people pleasers, we are about to get into it. Okay. First of all, we have the athlete card. And we also have the Four of Pentacles, which says, rich dicks be like, already recovering people pleasers. There is a sense of protectiveness that you have over your material objects as well as your relationships. You are starting to get the hint. If you're watching this in the month of January, you are at the point where you're like, I'm starting to get the hang of the understanding that I can't just give everything away all the time, that I can't just, because I have an excess of something, give it to other people. Like, for example, as a vegan, I have to feed myself all the time in terms of making sure that, like, when I go to social gatherings, that I take care of myself, that I fend for myself, basically. So I would come to work with a big giant thing of watermelon, just like a huge container of watermelon. And for those of you who maybe don't know, fruit is not a lot of calories. You have to eat a lot of it in order to get the same amount of calories as like a bacon, egg, and cheese McMuffin, or bacon, egg, and cheese Chris sandwich, which was my Burger King order for many years. So, in order to get that amount of calories in for my breakfast, I would need to eat that amount of watermelon, and I would have a lot of coworkers. I had a lot of coworkers at the time that I didn't know that I was a people pleaser, but I was people pleasing so hard. And they would come and ask me, can I have a piece? Can I have a piece? Can I have a piece? Well, I say yes to 2 people. I say yes to 10 people. Now I have half of a container of watermelon and I'm in tears. I'm like crying over my watermelon because I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be so hungry later because I just said yes to people that I didn't want to say yes to, but I felt like it would be rude to say no when I have so much. I have so much, and it looks like a lot. But in my mind, I know, and I would have to explain to everybody around me, hey, uh, this is how many calories I need. It got to the point where in a morning circle one day where all of us were gathered, I was crying and shaking and holding hands with the person next to me and saying, hey, just as an announcement, don't fucking ask me to eat any of my food anymore. I can't say yes to everybody, and therefore I have to say no to everybody. This is my food. Don't ask. I will offer. If I have extra, I will offer. But right now, I need y'all to understand this is not extra. I'm not being extra for how much I'm eating, okay? This, that's what this energy is. This Four of Pentacles is like it in its positive lightest aspect, which is what we've got here because this is your continue card. This is like you're already doing this. Congratulations, amazing. In its light aspect, the Four of Pentacles or Four of Coins, which is the representation of everything that is outside of you that still has to do with you. So it's Pentacles is your home, Pentacles is your money, Pentacles is your clothing, Pentacles is your material possessions as well as your relationships. Everything that connects to you, that affects you, that you affect, but is outside of you. Everything else in tarot represents things that are in here. So we'll get to that when we get to it. But the Four of Pentacles in its lighted aspect is like, I know exactly what I have, and I don't want to have to fight you over what I need. I know what my needs are, and I'm not going to fight you over it. I'm just going to protect it. And I'm not even going to explain myself. How about that? The other continue card here that we have is the athlete. And I'll just read off the card the light attributes and the shadow attributes, and then we'll get into it. Okay. So again, this is still in your continue position. This is the stuff that you need to continue doing because it's good for you. So we'll pull and pick out which parts are relevant here. Okay. So light attributes. Dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower and strength of spirit. I already know what this is about for me personally. Shadow attributes, misuse of athletic ability for selfish ends, false sense of invulnerability and entitlement. So because this is in your continue position, we're going to pull from all of the positive things that you were already doing, which is developing personal willpower and strength of spirit. Again, that's speaking to this. That's like your personal willpower and your strength of spirit as a people pleaser before was mush. Was mushy mushy cheese grits. Was mushy mushy overnight oatmeal. Okay, super duper mushy, no willpower, no strength of spirit to be able to like hold yourself. Because the athlete doesn't need to be like super fit and mighty and Olympian in order to have a strength of willpower. The level of discipline that they have is also for like the amount of food that they need to eat and the kind of food that they need to eat and the it's not just it's a mental thing. It's a there's a mentality to athleticism, which is being able to pursue your passions with such purpose, with such resonance with the outcome that every single chance that you have between the present moment and the results that you want, which as a recovering people pleaser, the results that you want is to be able to protect yourself and have good boundaries, but also have healthy, compassionate, loving, kind relationships, have all of the possessions that you've worked for not be taken from you just because you say yes to everybody who asks for your car, to borrow your car. Okay? You might know the slipperiness that can happen when between where you are now and where you want to be, you continue to backslide and you continue to say yes when you meant to say no, or you continue to feel bad for saying no about something, and that guilt drives you in the future to say yes when you meant to say no. There are so many decisions on the way to get to the results that you want. And ultimately, as a recovering people pleaser, you're always going to be in recovery. Love, hate to say it, love to be the one to say it because I'm going to say it to you gently. You're going to get better. The point of recovery is to keep getting better. But sometimes recovery means that the injury, uh, heals, but the scars never go away. So you're always going to be able to see those scars in your interactions. Later on, when you've gotten really good at holding your boundaries and accepting that being kind to yourself first, sometimes appearing to be mean or appearing to be a bad friend to other people, you're going to be able to see that progress, and you're already starting to see it now, which is why the athlete is coming up in your continue position here. Okay, so continue doing that. This is your cheering section. Yay, you're doing so well at these things. Really marvelous, wonderful. Okay, now we are going to get into our stop cards. I just feel maybe some buddies, maybe several of y'all going, I just want to hear what I have to let go of. I don't want to wait for the bad cards. I don't want to wait for the negative cards. I just want to get it over with. I just want to rip off the band-aid. Okay, so we're going to rip off the band-aid. These are your stop cards. These are things that you need to stop doing, that you need to stop fucking doing, because they're not helping you. They're not serving you in any way. And when you do these things, they are actually it's the backslide. It's saying yes when you meant to say no, that kind of thing. Okay, so right now we have the goddess, the pioneer, the ace of mind bullets, which is swords, for those of you who are aware of traditional tarot. Ace of swords, which says, I won this with my brains. And then we've got the Uno, which is the world card, which says, better luck next time, and also, you're drunk. Okay? So I've got the sense from these, at least from the tarot cards, from the ace. Ace represents for me like the beginning of a journey. So if you think of, I always describe the minor arcana in tarot, which is ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I always describe that ace through 10 as a mountain climb journey. Okay, ace is the very beginning, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the very peak, and 10 is the valley that you hit once you are done with that journey. Ace is the part of the journey where you are looking at the mountain ahead of you. You are looking at the people pleasing recovery journey that you have ahead of you. And you're going, okay, how do I want to approach this? Do I want to just kind of go direct and straight ahead? Do I want to take the gentlest journey possible and instead of climbing this mountain, kind of get into the river next to it and see if I can float around it, see where that gets me? Do I want to go with friends or do I want to go by myself? Is this an inward journey or is this a community oriented journey? Ace is the place where you are trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out what your approach is going to be. And essentially the kind of person that you want to be going into the next few challenges that you have in the journey. It's also like something that I've been doing over the years, the past couple of years, is I'll pick a theme every year. One year it was being curious and asking questions because I realized that as a ADHD autistic person, I would either make a lot of assumptions or I would expect other people to just, I don't know, tell me what they're thinking all the time or tell me when something was wrong instead of me asking and getting curious. Um, Another year it was finesse. So learning and learning to finesse is also another ADHD autistic thing, like very, very autistic social thing to be like, how do I ask people directly without being so blunt that it like turns them off? So that's what it feels like for me is the ace of swords here, the ace of mind bullets is like you're trying to figure out how to approach something and also you need a certain kind of mentality, you need a certain kind of perspective on the identity that you want to shape, like that personal identity that you want to focus on shaping, because you only can do so much. You can't become a new person overnight, and you can't become a new person in 12 different ways in the course of a month or in the course of a year. It doesn't work that way. We have a whole lifetime for a reason because uh, we have a very we have a very interesting learning process as humans. Because we have language, we learn from each other and we learn through storytelling and through sharing. And if we don't get the time that we need for those things to like settle in and to be synchronized and for it to be reflected in other areas of our lives, then we don't really learn that lesson. We don't really develop understanding of things. We just like see it and it in one ear and out the other. It just passes through us. So this is because this is in the stop position. I get the sense that you're trying to do everything and you're trying to get better overnight. And I also get the sense because the world card is here, the Uno is here, that there might be some resistance to doing it sober. And I hate to say it, but I love to be the one to say it to you. Uh, the sobriety journey might also be a part of this next leg of the journey. Maybe not literally immediately in January, but because it's coming up right now, and it is January 2026, it might be that taking a look at how substances and substance use affects you is a time for you to like get really vulnerable with yourself because there's still like a version of you that's trying to cover up from yourself. Like, you know, this person's naked, but not really. Like they've got the scarf that's wrapping around them. There's an intention to be vulnerable without the actual practice of vulnerability, which is how not using or abusing substances like alcohol and drugs and food, overeating food, or sex might feel for you. It might feel really vulnerable to just like sit with how you're feeling instead of trying to escape it through these different substances. And I hate to say it, but I love to be the one to say it too because I've been there before and I know that it sucks to hear this and that's why we're doing it because the hard things are easier to hear when you're ready to hear them. And you're watching this right now because it's time. It's about that fucking time that you not only, I want to say get over it, like, as in get over the, not just the resistance, but maybe even like the sarcastic way that you have been trying to handle it. Maybe even the like ironic or blase, that's the word that I'm looking for, maybe even the blasé way that you've been trying to um, step into the next version of you. Because it does sound kind of cheesy, like, I want to be a better me, and everybody wants to do that at the beginning of the year, whatever. It's the beginning of the Gregorian year. It's still winter. It's still winter in the northern hemisphere here. So what that means for us is that we might feel a little blasé about trying to look ahead at versions of ourselves that we want to be because we know that we're not entirely there yet, but that's how we want to be. We want to be able to be vulnerable with other people, and so we have to be vulnerable with ourselves. The stop position right now in this reading is starting to paint a picture of you figuring out how you want to approach the next leg, and also recognizing in that sort of research process, in that sort of like identification process, you also scoping out how substance use has been affecting you and how much you want it to affect you in that next version of you that you want to be. I'm going to read these shadow attributes for the goddess and the pioneer because these are in your stop position. So we have to look at what it is that's blocking you. So for the goddess, the shadow attribute here we have is exploitation of the female nature and form. And for the pioneer, we have the shadow attribute is compulsive need to keep moving on. Okay. So as a recovering people pleaser, the exploitation of the female nature and form, which I assume is that vulnerability that we were talking about. Like here is like almost partial nudity represented twice in this portion of the reading. There is a vulnerability that you have been allowing other people to take advantage of. And in the sense that you're trying to like press forward and keep moving on, the pioneer might try to push past all of the bad feelings that you have about it and just stop being so vulnerable to other people, which might mean that you swing from zero boundaries to 100% boundaries, and that's also not really the best thing either, because then you shut everybody out, including yourself, because we need other people as much as we don't want to. Sometimes we do. We are wired for connection. Our nervous systems, our brains, our skin, the way that touch, and the way that somebody else's voice can like soothe our bodies and like help us drop back into our a grounded self. It shows us that we are wired for connection, that we are built for being around other people. And in order for us to recover as people pleasers, we have to be vulnerable with other people still. Because the vulnerability that we had was just like a self imposed uh, doormat for other people to walk all over. That was the kind of vulnerability that we had. Was just laying ourselves on the floor and saying, "Walk all over me." And now the version of vulnerability that we have to try to understand and come to terms with is the vulnerability in which you say no and you leave other people hanging. You don't tell them everything. You don't fully express and fully reveal every single part of yourself because you haven't even revealed it to yourself yet. Being able to keep other people from taking advantage of you also means that you not taking advantage of your own desires for intimacy and desires for connection with other people, leading you uh, to that substance abuse that we were talking about, leading you to allow what you want with other people to shape the intention that you have for the next person that you become. And that's all to say, stop looking to other people to tell you who your next version of you should be and what they should look like. Um, and also, don't try to just plow forward because it feels uncomfortable right now. It's going to keep feeling uncomfortable, but you got this. You're going to be okay. Trust me, you've got this. So, next up, oh, no, we'll do this. Okay. Next up, we have let me just make sure that this is still recording because there are times when it's not and an alarm goes off and it's not recording anymore. Okay, we're still recording. You know what? Let me just silence my phone so nobody calls either. Okay, here we go. All right. So my intuition is trying to tell me something. And it's also telling me, hey, it's a water break. If you have water or tea or coffee or kombucha or whatever you have near you, take a sip. Okay. I'm going to move on to our obstacles and our blockages because I think that's a really great reinforcement for the stop cards. So if we're releasing and we're letting go of being vulnerable to other people, but not for ourselves, and trying to or trying to avoid vulnerability with other people by showing them what we want them to see and asking them what they want to see of us and then shaping our identities by that, if we are letting that go so that we can shape our own identities, then we need to unblock these two things. Okay, so we have the advocate here from the archetype cards, and then we also have I think this is the 10 of cups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of cups. And cups is the emotional energy. It is all of our emotions, our feelings, and our desires. It's like the things that compel us and the things that uh, drive us. It's our passions. It's the things that we want for ourselves that compel certain emotions from us, that compel certain feelings from us. Okay. If you don't know the outcome that you want to have from recovering as a people pleaser, if you don't have a good vision for who that person is, I mean, this like kind of takes us back to, the Ace of Swords here. Swords is about mental energy. It's about what you see in your mind. It's about the vision that you have for yourself. That's what this card is about. And if you don't have a vision for yourself, a vision of the version of you that you're trying to become by recovering from people pleasing, then it's because you haven't tapped into your own desires yet and you haven't gotten to a place where you actually feel good about the visions of you that you're seeing. So I think the thing that you need to unblock is the guilt that you have around saying no to people or wanting to say no, and also the shame that comes with thinking that you're a bad person for saying no, thinking that you're a bad person for setting boundaries, thinking that you're a bad person for doing things that align with you and your desires and your intentions for the life that you want to live. If you feel bad about that, then this is what you need. You need to find your inner rainbow. You need to find that inner harmonious place where it's like all of the colors of you come together. Because, like I said, you're not going to be able to. We have so many identities. That's why, we have the archetype cards, because there's so many identities within us. There's so many roles that we play in our lives. Whether you're a parent, or you're a sibling, or you're a partner, or you're uh, uh, as a coworker, as a friend, as a soulmate, as a child. All of these identities that we have inform us of how we show up in the world. The identity that you're moving toward right now, or the identity that you're moving toward recovering right now, maybe it's the inner victim, that version of you who takes everything personally because I just want the other people around me to be happy. And if they name anything that I've ever done that makes them unhappy, suddenly it's about me. Suddenly they're passive aggressively trying to tell me, and I'm playing Sherlock over here, they're passive aggressively trying to tell me that they've always thought this about me, and they've always resented about me that I have done this thing in my life. And maybe I did it to them and I don't even remember having done it. Or maybe I've already encoded that something that I did to them was this thing that they hate that other people do. And now that they've named it, I have to feel ashamed of myself, because that was me. I did that. Okay? If the victim in you needs to take things personally so that you can always be the bad guy, or so that you can always be the hurt one that other people need to repair, so that you always need other people to need you, or so that you always need other people to come save you, then that is an identity that, going forward, you need to get clear on exactly how you want to recover that victim so that they can become the champion of whatever it is that you feel victimized by, and how it blends in with your other identities. Maybe you have an inner saboteur. Maybe you have that version of you who sabotages everything that's good for you. And the people pleaser in you sabotages it because you want other people to see you fixing things all the time, because you think that's how you are worthy to other people, is if you are always fixing and you are always solving. If you're the problem solver, then, and there's no problem to solve, you might sabotage all the good things in your life, or even just one really big good thing, so that you have something to fix. That's an identity that needs to blend in with all the other rainbow colors of your identity. And the reason that this is in the obstacle card is because you need to get past the point of thinking that these identities are serving you, which means that you need to rebuild your advocate. You need to rebuild the light attribute, which inspires you to put compassion into action. You need to rebuild the compassionate advocate who witnesses the suffering that maybe just one of your identities is causing you right now, and is hindering your recovery in the people pleaser recovery process. Identify that identity, understand how it's causing you more suffering, to be playing the victim, to be playing the saboteur, to be playing that wounded child who always wants other people to just uppies, please come and hold me, please come and help me from feeling these feelings at all or by myself. Help me, because that is maybe a way that you are people pleasing. You might know other people. If you have a wounded child that is an identity that you carry, then you might have people in your life who resonate with the people pleasing as well, but their people pleaser is a fixer. And if you're always the one who needs fixing and they're a fixer, you might have a wonderful, wonderful relationship with somebody who feels compelled to fix. But you might have noticed that there are resentments in that relationship. You might notice that you resent when they say no to you, or you resent that you don't really have a relationship unless one of you needs the other. There are identities within you that need to be explored so that you can take a look at which one needs advocacy and self-compassion. Because witnessing the suffering that version of you, that piece of you experiences over and over, it's not even wounding. It's not even being hurt. Because being hurt is just the first thing that happens. Suffering is the second thing that happens. Suffering is the choice to perpetuate that first harm, that first hurt. Suffering is the choice that you make to build an identity around. It's kind of like a pearl, a pearl in, what is it, an oyster or a clam? I don't remember who makes pearls. It's like a little grain of sand getting in there and then having all of these layers and layers and layers and layers and layers built up around it. It's building an identity around something that irritates you. And that irritant does not need to be your identity. That irritant does not need to shape all of your other identities, because maybe you're a wonderful, giving parent, but you also have a wounded child. And the irritation that you feel around that identity makes you irritated as a parent whenever one of your children is wounded, because then that means you don't get to be the wounded child. They're the wounded child right now. And maybe you feel jealous. Maybe you weirdly feel jealous that your own child is the one who is hurting more than you. And you have trouble having compassion for them in that moment because you don't even have fucking compassion for yourself. You don't even have a sense of where that identity could go if it wasn't wounded. If your inner child wasn't wounded and hurting all the time and sad all the time and angry all the time and frustrated and sitting in betrayal all the time. Who would that child be? Where would they go? What kind of life would they live? That's this. That's what you are going to be exploring by unblocking that version of you who doesn't know what you would be like without this one particular identity that's holding you back. I'm going to take another sip of water because that's a lot. That's a lot. It's funny, I'm sitting here going, is this too mean? Am I being too mean? But I did an archetype reading with the archetype cards on like my business on V for Vibrant, and one of my cards was the bully. Was, I think, like the bully advocate or the bully activist, which is just like, you kind of need to activate other people's understanding of the way that they are beating themselves up and the way that they are hurting themselves. So maybe you need to just say the thing that hurts so that they can identify where it is, where it lives in their body. So I hope that even if and though much of this might hurt hearing, I hope that you can identify it in your body, in your energy. I'm feeling it in my upper butt. Oh, squeak, squeak, squeak. I hope that as you tune into these messages that and you go into, the recovering perfectionist, if that applies to you, or the recovering highly sensitive person, or the I guess, the unmasking highly sensitive person. I think maybe that's more resonant. As you, you know, watch those videos as well, you understand that whenever something hurts and it feels a little owie, that means that is not just like me hurting you, it's you becoming aware of suffering that already existed. And then what does compassion do? Compassion witnesses that suffering and has a benevolent, kind, gracious desire to alleviate that suffering. If you just witness the suffering, all that is sympathy. All that is observation, honestly. You got to take the next step. You got to do something about it. All right. We've got our last cards here, our start cards. These are the thoughts, actions, beliefs, behaviors, habits that you need to start doing more of in your life. Okay. And for recovering people pleasers, we've already got this story of personal willpower helping us to conserve some of our energies, but we're not being vulnerable enough with ourselves to really identify those specific identities, and maybe just one specific identity at a time that is hurting us and causing ongoing suffering that ripples out into our other identities and makes us show up kind of as a shitty person in all of these other areas of our lives because of that one piece that we just haven't even revealed or exposed to ourselves yet. So I'm going to start with the engineer card here in our start position. Thoughts, actions, beliefs, behaviors, habits that we need to start doing more of, which includes, for the light attributes for the engineer, ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. Start building habits that allow you to practice what it means to be on the right side of the identities that we've been talking about. So if you have an inner saboteur, you have an inner wounded child, you have an inner victim that needs, you have an inner prostitute. Ooh, the recovering people pleasers recognize the prostitute archetype very well, and or maybe not well at all, and maybe that's why you're here, because your people pleaser recovery is so fresh to you that you don't even realize that you're whoring yourself out. You don't realize that you are giving up so much of yourself that you still haven't acknowledged yet. Maybe your people pleaser recovery is just in the first leg of its journey, and you're just starting to take notice of all of these ways that you are giving up more of yourself than you really want to, or you're creating entire identities around a single person or around your friends and the ways that you think they want you to show up and you think would make them happy if you did that thing for them, or if you looked a certain way, or if you said a certain thing, or if you bought them a particular gift. The engineer is saying you need to start recognizing the most critically suffering identity, the identity within you that is causing you the most ongoing suffering. Like, you might hurt from it because of other people from time to time, but for the most part, the hurt is ongoing because you choose to perpetuate a story about that version of you that causes you shame. Because if the story you're telling yourself is, if I don't do this thing, then they won't love me, period. That's the underlying story for recovering perfectionists all the time, is if I don't do this thing for this other person, or if I don't do it in the way that they want me to, then I am letting them down and they won't love me. The engineer wants you to start using your creative energies to imagine a world in which the suffering and the story of suffering that you have is an illusion, is totally false, totally fake. What if the story I've been telling myself is complete fiction? And maybe like create a collage about it, or create a playlist about it so that you can listen to music and songs and lyrics that help you see a different version of that story, or help you listen so clearly to that story that you start to laugh, and your laughter starts to break the spell that that story has had over you of making you think that that's real and that's real life. And that's not to invalidate everything that you've done and all of the ways that you've shown up and the ways that other people probably treated you that made you start to tell yourself that story. That doesn't invalidate any of that. All of that was real. But if you're watching this right now, it means that it's not anymore. It's not happening anymore. People aren't treating you in a way that you deserve to keep suffering for this particular thing anymore, in this particular way anymore. Not happening anymore. Which means it's time to start creating the life that moves you beyond that suffering, that shatters the pearl and finds that grain of sand in the center and goes, oh, that's what this was all about. Okay, I need a new identity. I need a new grain of sand to build myself around. That grain of sand is the seed of a belief that doesn't have to be true for you. So start to think about other beliefs. Start to think about the beliefs that got you here. And start to think about the beliefs that are going to get you to where you want to go, to get you to the next version of the story, the next chapter of the story, the next book. Burn the book. Burn the book that has this story embedded into it, and start to write the next book. It's going to be a mental journey and a spiritual journey to do this. Okay. We have the Ace of Wands, which in this iteration of tarot is the Dick Sticks. And it says, time to knock the leaves off this bitch. Okay. We've got the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Dick Sticks, and we have the Three of Swords, which is the I hate mom, I love mom card. Again, this is about shifting perspective. This is about telling a different story because you're looking at the story differently. You're starting to not see, to not look at it as, I hate mom. To start seeing I hate mom as the fiction and I love mom as the nonfiction. I hate mom is the lie, the seed of the belief that you've built your life around. And I love mom is the reality that you are shaping. Now, swords is, again, mental energy. It's the vision that you have for your life, for yourself, for the way that the beliefs that you have shape your actions and your plans for moving forward, your next step, the next right step for you to take. And the Ace of Wands is, again, we've got two aces here. We've got this energy of like, I feel new to this journey. I know that there's a challenge ahead of me. I know that there's a journey that's just starting for me. And whether or not you've already been recovering from people pleasing, or you are just starting out, whether you're just starting out or this is like you're 7 years in, it doesn't matter. We always have waves. We always have new parts, new challenges, new versions of ourselves to discover based on the next part of the journey. So you, if you were watching this, are at the beginning of this next part of your journey toward recovering from people pleasing, and start seeing it as a spiritual journey. I feel like that's the simplest way that I can put this. Like, time to knock the leaves off this bitch. It's time to shed all of the fiction, shed all of the false stories, and to come back to the version of you who understands that a you are a soul living in flesh, living in a flesh house that wants to connect, that is wired for connection. And in order for your spirit to be able to write new stories and to experience new frequencies of love, new frequencies of respect, new frequencies of empowerment and autonomy. Because that's what we really want as recovering people pleasers. We want to not feel like other people's desires and whims are controlling us anymore. For us to be able to do that, we have to be able to shed all of the lies. Oh, my little candle went out. Poop, poop. We have to be able to shed all of the lies one at a time. Doesn't have to be overnight. Doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be this month. It doesn't have to be this year. And it shouldn't be, honestly. Take it one at a time, okay? Figure out which identity is creating the most illusions for you, the most suffering for you. And that'll lead you to the illusions that make you feel disconnected, that tell you the wrong story about what love is, that have made you think that respecting other people is going to lead to them respecting you. And that is going to enforce a respect for self that you don't currently have. Ouch. The spiritual you needs to start being the center of this journey, of this next leg of the journey. So as you approach like this, I know that I know that I'm ready for the next version of me to unfold. You gotta understand and recognize that that version of you is a spiritual you, is a soulful you, and it doesn't need a a religion to be spiritual, but it does need community, and it does need consecration. It does need for you to know what your values are and to not stray from them. That's what being deliberately spiritual means. That you have values and that you have integrity. And that's kind of even what this sort of rod is, this sort of wand, this straight up and down wand is like, I'm going to cut away everything that is not my integrity so that I can get back to flipping my stories and shedding everything that makes me hate and disrespect myself and leads to resenting other people because they're also treating me like shit because I'm letting them, because I treat myself like shit. think that's it. I feel pretty complete. I feel pretty clear on this. I'm like considering whether I need to recap, but I feel like y'all get it too. And maybe if I'm wrong and some of you don't, like rewatch again in a week. Rewatch again in 3 weeks. Rewatch again in 3 months. I know that this is a message for January, but we're talking about the beginning of a journey here. So you're going to need to come back and remember where you started and why you started and how you calibrated yourself to the next step and the next step and the next step of the journey 3 months, 9 months, 3 years from now. You're going to be able to circle back to this and go, "Oh shit. That's what I had going for me. That's the thing that I can celebrate about myself for. But these are the things that I need to let go so I could start doing better at dispelling all of these illusions and really finding the integrity in the identity that I want to form through this next leg of the journey." Hey, there's your recap right there. But I feel like I said, if some of this was not fully uh like complete for you or well-rounded for you, I'm getting the sense that like some of you are going to need to save this to a playlist here on YouTube or bookmark it on your whatever it's called you on your Google page, on your Google Chrome or your Safari or your Firefox, whatever it is that you use, and bookmark it and come back to it again because, like I said, this is beginning of journey energy, and I think it's going to be very helpful to be able to come back and recognize where you came from and remind yourself of what you are still working for and working toward. I love you so much. I would love to hear from you. How did this resonate for you? What was an ouchie for you? Please let me know in the comments so I can just send you some love. And also, if there's something that needs confirmation for you, if there's something that needs clarifying for you here, I am available for one-on-one card readings. The link is in the caption below. So if you would like a private card reading over Zoom with me where I record it and I send you the video later. So again, you have something to look back on and you have something to remind you of the questions that you were asking at this time in your life. I would love to be there for you. Again, I love you so much. You're deserving of all the love you desire. A big hug for you, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day. See you, my love.